Now on this CTV News at 5, a Lethbridge man charged with human trafficking is back behind bars. Plus, growing concerns over southern Alberta's dry conditions. And fewer snowbirds are heading south of the border for the winter.
Telling your stories. CTV News Lethbridge with Jackie Scantlebury.
Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us. After being released on bail yesterday, Sky Atoa is back in custody after breaching his bail conditions. The 50-year-old faces charges of sexual assault, exploitation, and human trafficking. Quinn Keenan has the details.
Just 30 minutes after being released on bail, accused sex offender and human trafficker Sky Atoa was rearrested for breaching his conditions. He was supposed to go straight to a court-ordered residence after his release Tuesday. Instead, Lethbridge police said the 50-year-old went to a store to browse a perfume aisle. That's where officers found Atoa near a young female and arrested him.
I believe it really necessitates, especially when it's crimes against anyone, but certainly against children, that they should be looking at very tough bail sentencing.
Atoa had been in custody since his arrest in mid-December. Police say 3 teenage girls were found in his apartment, including a 14-year-old who said she had been held there for 3 days and repeatedly sexually assaulted by Atoa and other men. Atoa is charged with numerous offenses, including sexual assault of a child, trafficking a minor, and unlawful confinement. He's also charged with sexual assault of a 24-year-old woman last October. Some now question why he was granted bail in the first place.
I think the thing that's interesting about this is the timing of it all. That he was found to have been in breach of his bail conditions so immediately after being released.
Bail reform legislation targeting violent offenders is currently working through Parliament. The bill is awaiting its third reading in the House of Commons before heading to the Senate. If the legislation was already in place, Atoa may not have been granted bail.
You know, unprovoked sexual assault, stranger sexual assault, the burden of getting bail is going to lean a little bit more towards denying bail.
The Chinook Sexual Assault Center notes that sexual violence offenders often reoffend. While those charged are entitled to their rights, CEO Christine Cassie feels community safety must be a priority.
What we do find all too often is that so many people who are involved in sexually based crimes, they are repeat offenders, that this has not been dealt with in any meaningful way.
Atoa will appear in court for a new charge of failing to comply with released order conditions on Thursday. Quinn Keenan, CTV News, Lethbridge.
Now, police are also looking for a witness who was nearby Atoa when he was arrested Tuesday. The woman is described as having a dark complexion with long curly black hair and was wearing a black top with dark blue pants at the time. The witness is being asked to contact police. A 44-year-old woman has been charged with arson after she allegedly started a grass fire on Tuesday afternoon. Police and fire were called to the large fire around 12:45 just south of Mountain View Cemetery. A number of homes and buildings in the Scenic Heights area were evacuated as a precaution. Police on scene were alerted to a suspicious female running away from the blaze. Police say personal property belonging to a woman was seized nearby along with a lighter. Audrey Ray Smalllegs faces several charges. Strong winds and dry conditions helped fuel the fire, with fire risk levels matching conditions usually seen in the middle of the summer. Carson Marsouk has more.
It's a stark reminder of just how dry the ground is right now.
The levels are extreme right now. Our levels in the river valley and all over the city are more or less like they would be in August during a drought.
2 separate grass fires were sparked on Tuesday, a real sign of the dry conditions caused by warm temperatures, high winds, and low humidity.
Wildfire season is here for the city of Lethbridge. It's going to be here for a while. I'm looking at the forecast all the time. I don't see much precipitation coming in the upcoming weeks, which I know some people like that, but for our risk here, it's dangerous.
As a result, a fire ban has been imposed in the city's river valley. All open fires are no longer allowed. A spark was the cause of one fire on Tuesday, likely from an encampment.
We work very closely with the Lethbridge Police Department as well as fire to reduce fire hazards within the river bottom, although we can only respond to what gets reported. So if you're out for a walk, a run, a bike ride, and you see an encampment or something you feel doesn't belong in the river bottom, please report it through 301's online reporting or by phone.
which is vital to reducing the risk of a grass fire. Chief Fire Marshal Troy Hitz says grass fires are just as dangerous and concerning as a structure fire.
When we have a fire, it produces so much more heat. It also produces its own wind, and it could be sending these sparks and embers in all directions. We can do what we can to try to get in front of it. It is going to consume everything that the fire is blowing towards.
The cause of the larger grass fire near Mountain View Cemetery Tuesday afternoon remains under investigation. And while it's still the middle of winter, the fire department says residents need to be cautious year-round.
If you live right on the coulees, if you live right on the outskirts of the city with farmers' fields and things around you, the risk is always there. So same thing, it's a little difficult now this time of year. You can't have your sprinklers on to make sure your grass is nice and green and everything there. But what you can do is make sure there's no yard waste piling up in your yard. Make sure you keep stuff away from your fence. Make sure you keep it away from your house.
Carson Marsuk, CTV News, Lethbridge.
The municipal districts of Willow Creek and Pincher Creek have both issued fire restrictions. A full list of fire bans or advisories can be found at albertafirebans.ca. All right, let's turn to Danielle Savoni to talk more about the forecast. Danielle?
Once again, record-breaking heat. This is more shattering the record than just breaking it like some communities did yesterday. I'll give you an example. So Lethbridge, we got up to 17.5 for today. The record for this day is 13.3, and that's from 1942. So, yeah, a big record broken right there. 17 is the current temperature in Milk River and Lethbridge right now. 14 in Medicine Hat. I mean, check out these teens at this time of year. It does come, of course, at a bit of a price. We're talking about the wind, so it has been a windy day. 76 kilometers per hour is the max in Pincher Creek and Lethbridge. The winds are going to calm down, and the temperatures will not be nearly as warm, but will still be above freezing. I'll show you that coming up, Jackie.
All right, thanks, Danielle. And speaking more of warm temperatures, heat records were broken in 15 Alberta communities yesterday, 3 of them in southern Alberta. Bow Island was the warmest in the province at 13 degrees Celsius, breaking a record of 10.3 set back in 2021. Brooks got up to 11.8 degrees, toppling 2023's record of 9.8. And Medicine Hat saw the mercury climb to 12.2 degrees, ending its previous record of 10.7 degrees set just 5 years ago. An historical Indigenous Southern Alberta world site is picking up traction internationally after it was mentioned in the season 2 premiere of HBO Max's The Pit.
Where are you going?
Head smashed in buffalo jump.
Captain Crunch flying squirrel socks. What are we talking in code, or you having a stroke?
It's an Aboriginal UNESCO heritage site in Alberta.
ER Dr. Michael Robbie, played by Noah Weil, is in conversation with Patrick Ball's character, Dr. Langdon, talking about a sabbatical he plans on taking to Head Smashed In Buffalo Jump near Fort Macleod. The UNESCO World Heritage Site sees around 60,000 visitors annually. Many keen Albertans caught the reference, and staff at the site were completely shocked. They hope it will entice even more visitors to Head Smashed In.
We had no idea. It was a pleasant surprise, you know, and like I, to be honest, I've never watched the show, but I did search it up, and I think I'm going to, you know, download the series and have a look for myself.
Head Smashed In Buffalo Jump will celebrate 40 years next year. The site features exhibits, trails, and lookout points of where the Blackfoot people use their knowledge of buffalo behavior to kill their prey by chasing them off a cliff and carving up their carcasses. Well, snowbirds have faced some big changes in the last year, and a recent poll suggests some are reassessing their plans. 15% of respondents surveyed by Snowbird Advisors said they no longer plan to travel to the United States for the winter. The main reasons were continued border and trade tension between the two countries, Trump's 51st state stance, and inconsistent border rules. New rules include providing fingerprints and alien registration forms, which visitors are expected to carry. Others tell us they simply feel threatened as Canadians in the U.S.
You could feel the polarization, and you could feel you could just feel a little bit of a tension, and it was different. It was just different than it had been for 20 years before that. So we decided to sell.
Others tell us they will now travel to places like Mexico, while still more say they couldn't imagine vacationing anywhere else and are staying put. The Canadian Food Inspection Agency has put the brakes on proposed changes to animal health traceability requirements. Jacob Carr has more on why the decision was made, along with how it's affecting some prairie cattle producers.
The Canadian Food Inspection Agency's decision to hit the pause button on proposed additional regulations on animal traceability is music to the ears of organizations like the Saskatchewan Cattle Association.
Saskatchewan Cattle Association called for a halt to these regulations, and we've been repeatedly and strongly advocating that movement tracking cannot be burdensome or onerous on our producers.
According to Ross, traceability involves the ID of an animal, the premise ID to show where the animal is located, and other tracking of things like disease history. The province's Ministry of Agriculture is also pleased that the federal government has put a temporary halt to the possible changes, saying further discussions are needed with industry stakeholders and provincial agricultural ministers.
The federal minister assured me that we would try to get it on the agenda at the next FPT meeting and have some discussions further on really making sure that the cow-calf producers and others aren't so impacted by some of the regulation changes that CFIA had recommended.
The CFIA says that a modern and reliable traceability system will allow animals to be tracked through the production system, supports faster and more targeted disease response, and helps limit impacts on producers, communities, and trade. But Ross says the regulations as proposed, if passed, will tack on to the workload and the bill for Saskatchewan cattle producers.
For our cow-calf producers, there's going to be a little bit of extra scanning and going to be some more equipment needed and that type of thing. For our fairs and exhibitions, there's going to be some extra equipment.
The CFIA says they will continue to consult about the regulations to those in the cattle industry, along with agricultural associations and governments. Jacob Carr, CTV News, Regina.
A call today for the Alberta government to scrap a tax on wine. Canadian wine producers and restaurant owners call it a blatant tax grab. Alberta imposed the tax last year after it made an agreement with BC to lower trade barriers on Canadian wine. Wine producers say it means a bottle of wine that costs $29 in BC costs $34 here. Wine producers in BC say the new tax is punishing, leading to a 50% decline in wine club sales. Rent prices in Lethbridge are continuing to rise, but local rents are still among the most affordable in Canada. In December, one-bedroom listings were going for $1,400 on average. That's according to rentals.ca. That's up 2.5% from the same time last year. Two bedrooms are up 1.2% to nearly $1,550. Despite the increases, Lethbridge is the 8th most affordable city to rent in out of the municipalities that were tracked. Build Lethbridge has announced its 2025 Hall of Fame inductee. They are posthumously recognizing Don Donison for his long-standing service, leadership, and lasting impact on the residential construction industry in Lethbridge. Donison founded the Overhead Door Company in 1975. Over the last 50 years, he has helped to expand it from a single local operation to a multi-location business serving Lethbridge, Calgary, and Cranbrook. Build says Donison played a consistent focus on quality workmanship, customer service, and sustainable business growth. Donison passed away in November of 2024. He will be inducted into the Build's Hall of Fame next month. Danielle Savoni is back right after this break with the 5-day forecast. Also, we hear firsthand the dangers of medical tourism.
Here's your Skywatch weather camera. What a beautiful shot here. We are looking at quiet, dry, windy, and I'm going to say somewhat warm weather because this is the warmest we're getting. Then we're going to cool down, but we'll still be above freezing for the rest of this week for most communities in southern Alberta. It just won't be like this. So 16 degrees right now in Calgary and Lethbridge, Milk River also, 14 in Brooks and Medicine Hat. Is it January? Yes, it is. This is from those strong winds out of the west. 12 is the temperature in Pincher Creek. Looking at gusts right now, 76 was the max in Pincher Creek and Lethbridge. Tamer in through Calgary in the 50s, 40s for Brooks, and just above 30 in Medicine Hat. This is going to change tomorrow, and the key thing to mention for tomorrow is, yes, it will be gustier, but it will be out of a different direction, which is why temperatures will not be able to climb nearly as high as what we had today. So for Pincher Creek in the morning hours, we're looking at winds out of the west around 40 kilometers per hour. Crowsnest Pass as well. Then we're going to get a switch in the wind direction, which is why temperatures in these areas will be warmer in the morning than in the afternoon. So temperature will drop throughout the day. Lethbridge, you're looking at 70 kilometer per hour gusts out of the north. That's a colder wind. We'll still get above freezing, but it won't be anywhere near like today with regards to temperature because of that. And then mainly out of the northwest and north for Medicine Hat, Brooks, Drumheller, 80 kilometer per hour gusts possible because we're on the edge of a system that will be moving through, and we may even catch a little bit of moisture here as well from the system tomorrow. So first things first, let's go through that, and you can see mixed precipitation that will really go through. It will likely just miss Brooks, but then head down along the Saskatchewan border and clip the Medicine Hat area. Mixed precipitation, very short-lived, just in for about an hour and a half and then out of the way. So it should be out just after 9 in the morning. Again, it's nothing significant, but when you combine that with the winds, if we get anything falling, of course, it's going to reduce visibility out there. So reduced visibility, a little bit of mixed precipitation, certainly windy conditions everywhere. Fog patches tonight in the East Kootenay area, looking at a high of 2 degrees with fog lasting right until about 1 in the afternoon. Crowsnest Pass 10 tonight, winds gusting out of the west 80 kilometers per hour. So we're going to hold on to the warmth through tomorrow morning, and then temperatures will drop throughout the day. So that 5 degrees will be earlier in the day, and by the afternoon hours, temperatures will actually be below freezing. So the 5 will be early in the morning, just so you're aware of that. 6 degrees overnight in Medicine Hat, winds gusting 40K. And then as we go into tomorrow, 80 kilometer per hour gusts. It's out of the northwest. We should just get to 4 degrees. That will be in the afternoon, so more of a typical pattern for the Medicine Hat area. For Lethbridge, the temperature will be falling throughout the day. So that 7 degrees, keep in mind, will be early in the morning, and then we'll dip closer to about 3-4 degrees for the afternoon. Then we're looking at +4 for Friday. Then we get back into the double digits to kick off the weekend on Saturday, and then those lower single digits for Sunday.
Medical tourism is a $100 billion industry worldwide. More and more Canadians are looking to reduce wait times, and costs are jumping on the bandwagon. Now, a Canadian woman's desire for cheaper cosmetics changes left her fighting for her life in a foreign country with a rising medical bill. CTV's Pauline Chan reports.
She was a 52-year-old business owner and mother of 4 who also had abdominal surgery to remove a massive tumor.
My dream was to have a mummy makeover.
A tummy tuck and breast lift. But after her medical excursion to Costa Rica last fall, Nicole Grigorov is facing a very different future from what she expected for the new year.
So I have to learn how to walk. I had to learn how to use my arms. I have to learn how to do everything.
Sepsis resulted in the loss of her fingers and toes, but Nicole was just one of the thousands of Canadians who went overseas last year for medical or cosmetic surgery. The U.S.-based Medical Tourism Association says there's been a 40% jump last year in Canadians going abroad for anything from faster hip replacements to nose jobs.
It's estimated that it's 432,000. And that's, data we have from hospitals, governments in some of the destination countries.
I just went online and did a ton of research. So I interviewed some doctors in Canada. Canada wasn't out of the question.
But in the end, she chose a clinic in Costa Rica.
The main driving factor is the cost. The cost of care in those countries is considerably lower. The overhead expense, the time in an operating room, the medications cost less there.
The cost for Costa Rica, about $20,000 plus flights.
So in Canada, it would have probably been 25% more.
But Nicole doesn't recall waking up at the clinic where her surgery was done.
Nicole Grigorov spent some 3 weeks in a coma in Costa Rica. Her organs shut down, and when she finally awoke, her next challenge was trying to get back to Canada.
Close friend Rod Ponkin stepped in with $85,000 for an air ambulance, and that wasn't the only hurdle.
There's a lot of moving parts because the air ambulance, the doctor and their team had to correspond with Niagara doctors, and they had to consult.
It was a 2-week wait to secure a hospital bed, with Nicole paying for each day in the Costa Rican hospital. She arrived in Niagara just before Halloween, and a couple of weeks later, she had to have all her fingers and toes amputated.
I just want my life back. I want peace in my life.
Pauline Chan, CTV News.
Still ahead on the CTV News at 5. The little dog expected to make a big impact on Colorado ski hills. Lethbridge Hurricanes are in the midst of a 4-game losing skid, but they'll have a chance to snap that tonight. The Hurricanes are playing at home against the Red Deer Rebels. Both the Canes and Rebels are chasing down the last playoff spot in the East. Red Deer has dominated the series so far, winning 3 out of 4 games between the two. Now the game goes at 7 o'clock at the VLC. Brooks Bandits played last night on the road in Okotoks. After giving up an early lead, the Bandits fought back to jump in front. They survived a late Oilers comeback to hold on for a 5-4 win. Have you hit the ski hills yet this winter? If so, you likely didn't see anything like this. A ski patrol worker in Colorado is really turning heads because of her new partner. And the hope is the tiny addition will be a big help. ABC's David Muir explains.
In Snowmass Village, Colorado, an incredible sight. The ski patroller and her new recruit. A 5-month-old golden retriever, Benji, getting a ride to work on the back of his trainer. And they've gone viral. Benji is the newest Aspen Snowmass Patrol recruit, and they hope a future avalanche rescue dog. He's a good boy. For months now, his owner and trainer, ski patroller Louise Zemlicka, has been acclimating Benji to the slopes as part of their on-mountain canine program. Building his confidence, getting him used to the ski lifts, his vests, the snow, loud noises, uneven surfaces. Training to ride still on the toboggan in the wind and snow. And wearing goggles to protect his eyes. And going through intensive search and rescue training with the Colorado Rapid Avalanche Deployment Program, learning how to find lost skiers in the snow. If all goes well, they tell us he'll be ready by 2 years old. But look at this at 5 months. Pretty comfortable already. Benji and his owner, trainer Louise, on a hike. Turns out this is their well-deserved day off.
Our goal is to get him certified as an avalanche dog, and he will be searching for people involved in an avalanche rescue situation. If you're out skiing in Snowmass, come say hi.
Still ahead on the CTV News at 5, we show you a rather mismatched standoff when we come back. A rhino and a small deer had a face-off with some surprising results. It seems like an unfair matchup, but video from a Polish zoo shows a tiny muntjac deer squaring off against a nearly 2-ton rhino and pretty much showing it who's boss. The zoo said that the daring display was due to the small animal's mate being in heat and it needing to burn off some pent-up testosterone. Wow. Thank you for sharing this time with us. Now here's the early edition of the CTV National News.